What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioWatch 3 Raw TV. Today's video is very different. I want to talk to you guys about something I feel is important to talk about. It's important for me to get out there. So I talked to some people in my little inner circle recently, and I thought it was just a good idea to explain something that I've been going through since I was probably a late teens, early 20s. Let's just start from the beginning. So my late teens, early 20s, and I don't know if it was an anxiety thing. I think it was, to be honest with you, a kind of depression, anxiety together. But it seems like the doctors didn't really agree with that. They were like, look, we think that you basically have insomnia. And what I would do is like, I'd be up all night. Like I wouldn't be tired, I'd be tired, but I wouldn't be able to sleep. And I'd be up like all night, then all day. And then like at 8 p.m. or something like that, 8, 9 p.m., maybe 7:30 or whatever, I would fall asleep for like 30 minutes. Like I would just like pass out hard for like 30 minutes. And that was it. I was up for the rest of the night. So I'd be tired all day and I'd like force myself to stay awake when I'd feel tired during the day, only to fall asleep for like 30 minutes at 8 o'clock to be up all night again. And I'd sleep like 30 minutes for blocks of time for like months. And it was bad. It was really bad. So I go to the doctor after taking stuff like NyQuil, over the counter stuff. I go to the doctor and the doctor prescribes me something called trazodone. Now, if you don't know what trazodone is, it's considered an antidepressant, but it helps you with sleep. It really does knock you out. I mean, it does knock you for a loop. And if you wake up while you're on trazodone, you're like drunk. You're completely messed up. Like it's a mess. Like it feels awful. So I went on the trazodone. I followed the doctor's orders, and I couldn't live on that. It was making me so drowsy the next day. I would fall asleep, but I'd wake up like 3 hours later and not be able to fall asleep again, but I would be wicked fucked up from the drug itself. Like it makes you feel like you have no balance, like you're seeing double of everything for like another 8 hours. So I was like, I can't live like this. So I stopped and I started using Benadryl. And I went on Benadryl for, I was using GABA. I would rotate GABA for a little bit. I tried ZMA. I tried stacking GABA, ZMA, 5-hydroxytryptophan. You name it. I did so many things. I've used Phenibut, which I do not like Phenibut, and it's actually considered a supplement. It's actually a drug now, but Phenibut is highly addictive. I tried that a few times. That knocked me for a loop. Really nothing was good for me. So therefore, I only slept about, if you guys have watched my videos for a while, I was sleeping any 3 to 4 hours a night, maybe maximum 4 hours a night, but roughly 2 to 3 hours a night for years on end. And I was super productive, and I launched my YouTube channel like that, and everything social media wise I was doing from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the morning. And I'd sleep for a couple hours and then go train my clients in the morning. And this went on for a long time, and I really couldn't keep up with the pace. It was really wearing on me, and I wouldn't say I was sick, but I had a hard time. Like I was super aggressive, I was agitated, I was irritated, like I just wasn't in a good place. And in 2016, I flew out to Vegas to take part in Super League with Jay Jung, who owns Super League and runs it. And at the time, Dorian Yates was involved in it. Now, Dorian and I were having a conversation, and he said, why don't you just use cannabis, man? And I was like, I don't want to smoke weed, and I had a former drug problem, I have dependency issues, etc. And he was straight up like, it's not the same thing. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. And he's like, if you don't want to smoke weed, I get it. He's like, because there's some kind of preconceived notion, but you're in Vegas, you can go get edibles and do that stuff legally. It's just up to you. I'm just putting it out there. I mean, you're having trouble sleeping, you can't sleep. Here's the deal. Like this would help, right? So I kind of stepped back and I said, I don't know, man. Like I really was skeptical, right? But I started to go, what if he's right, right? What if he's right? Dorian's changed his mind about a lot of things in life. So I decided to, right then and there, that whole night, I did research pretty much the whole night while I was in Vegas about the opiate receptors in the body, as well as the cannabis receptors, and found out we have this endocannabinoid system. It's actually a system in our body that needs to be nourished. And if we don't nourish it, just like our cardiovascular system, our circulatory system, our nervous system, if we're not nourishing it the right way, we have complications. And they just found out about this system, this endocannabinoid system, like, it's 420 on the there, endocannabinoid system, like 10 years ago, 15 years ago. They didn't even know about it. So I said, shit, what if part of the cause of what's going on with me is that this system that I haven't been nourishing pretty much my whole life, it causes anxiety, it causes depression, it causes sleeplessness, it causes like all these, mental breaks, it causes all these different things that we didn't even know it existed. So I'm like, you're trying to tell me that there's a system in my body that I need to nourish, but what about my drug past? What about my addiction past? What about the things that I went through in my past? How does that come into play with this? And I went through research after research after research. I said, you know what? These receptors are two different things. And it would explain why I would be addicted to opiates. But I used to smoke weed when I was younger and I didn't like it. I didn't care. Like, not only did I get addicted to it, I didn't like it. I said, there's something to it. I said, all right, fuck it. So I drove to the dispensary. Well, I took a cab to the dispensary in Vegas, and I bought these edibles. I walk in and there's a lady standing, this old hippie lady, and she's like, can I help you? I said, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I said, I've never done any of this stuff before. Talked to her. She had these 5 milligram edibles. She said, all you do is like bite one in half, and that'd probably be a good enough dosage for you to sleep to start with. So I bought this little package of these edibles, and I went home. I went to the hotel, and that night I ate a piece of the edible. It took about maybe an hour to kick in, and I started to feel really drowsy. Not high, but really drowsy, really fast. And I was out, and I slept for a good 7 hours straight. I mean, I did get up to go to the bathroom, but I was able to lay back down and go back to sleep, which is also another issue, that if I get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night because I drink so much water, sometimes I lay down, it takes me 20 minutes, a half hour, an hour to get back to sleep. It's kind of frustrating. I noticed on the edibles, I could go lay down and go right back to sleep. I said, man, that's pretty incredible. Like, I don't know, I had no hangover the next day, there was no lasting effects, but I got a good night's rest, and I felt good. And I didn't have to smoke marijuana, I didn't have to smoke cannabis, I didn't actually have to do weed, right? And I was like, well, this is fucking game changer. So I came back, I talked to my wife, Erin, about it, and as of now, I'll show you guys this. I actually have a medical card in the Commonwealth of Virginia for cannabis. I went to the doctor, I talked to the doctor, I told her my experience. She told me what she thought. She thought it was actually a great idea. She explained the difference between the opiate receptors and the cannabis receptors, and even explained different things like terpenes, how they work. I mean, there's all these different things that got cannabis. Like, to me, weed was just weed. You got a little bag when you were younger, you smoked it to get high, that was it. I didn't realize that cannabis could be a medication. And that was 2016. I've taken cannabis every single night, various forms, whether it's an edible, I've had sprays, I've had mints, I've had flour, I've had vape cartridges, I've had all these different things that I have used throughout the last 4 years, and I have never felt better. I sleep so much better. Even if I slept 4 or 5 hours, it's such a deep sleep that when I wake up, there's no lasting effects. The Benadryl would give me hangovers until 3 o'clock the next afternoon. Phenibut would keep me screwed up until 5 o'clock in the afternoon where I could barely walk. Trazodone, I didn't feel like doing anything. Well, there's cannabis. You take an edible, you spray something in your mouth, you take a mint. Within half hour, 45 minutes, you're drowsy, you go to sleep, you wake up, you feel like $1 million. Like, you've got to be kidding me. Now, is it addictive? Well, here's the thing. That was my question. My question was, what if this sends me off and running in another direction, right? So I tried one afternoon. I said, let me see what it's going to feel like to actually feel this cannabis. And this was like 2 years into it. So I took a couple hits of the pen and realized, like, not only do I not like the feeling of being high, but I can't function. Like, I don't get like energetic like some people and creative. I get stupid, I get lazy, and I get sleepy. Like, that's what weed always did to me. It never was like a party drug for me to go out and get hyped and go have fun. It was always made me like drowsy and tired, and I didn't want to be around people. Like, it sucked. I wanted to go to bed. I said, it has the same effect. I said, okay, well, that kind of crosses out the whole, get addicted, use it all day, it becomes your way of life. It cut that out. So even during the pandemic, I was locked down. I didn't do any cannabis throughout the day, not once. I always used it at night. I said, this is not just controllable. This is medication. It makes me normal again. It gives me a better quality of life. Now, I had to be honest with myself, and I had to have this discussion with myself, my wife, my close friends around me. Everyone around me was worried for me, including myself. But I just didn't feel like sleeping 2 hours a night consistently for 5, 6, 7 years was helping me. I felt like it was making things worse for me. I was having a hard time concentrating. I was having a hard time with my relationships. I was just very withdrawn because I was constantly tired all the time. I was never rested. Even on days like it was like the weekends, I couldn't sleep in. Like, I just couldn't do it. My body doesn't want to do it. Corrected it with cannabis. So this happens, and I see my friend Alex Michael Turner, who I talked to the other day, and I agreed with him. And I said, I am going to go ahead and start promoting cannabis more, because I do feel like, it's legal here. I'm in Virginia. It's legal for me to have this card for a medical condition. I have a legit medical condition that has not been fixed with any other drugs. Long-term. Short-term fix, yeah, but short-term doesn't matter. We need long-term fixes. We need a permanent fix so I can sleep. So I told Alex, I said, if you want to get together, because in California, it's totally legal for recreational. In DC over here, legal for recreational. Vegas, legal for recreational. A lot of places, legal for recreational. Massachusetts, where my mom lives, legal for recreational up there. When I went up there when I went to see her when she has cancer, I went right to the dispensary. I bought her a thing of edibles. I brought them home. They increased her appetite and helped her sleep better. Like I'm watching my mom, who was very against any kind of drugs, illegal drugs, cannabis, marijuana, whatever. She was very against that her whole life. Even she eats the edibles now because it helps with her cancer treatment. So I'm looking at things in a totally different way. Like, are there people that go out to get high still? Yes, of course, right? But are there people that are realizing that use the proper way, like anything else? Water can be used to cool you down. Water can be used to hydrate you. Water used the wrong way can hydrate you so much that you actually die within an hour of drinking those 4 gallons of water. Drink 4 gallons of water in an hour, you'll die. Like anything done in excess is bad. Is it something you can control? I think that if I had first done it and I felt like it was not able to control, I think that I would have had to take a step back and say, look, I can't do this. But it's been 4 years. I've never done it, only that one time. I've never done it except that one time during the day, ever. I noticed I didn't like the feeling still, like when I was younger. It's given me better sleep. It's given me better overall sense of well-being. So even once you wake up, once the psychoactive effects have worn off, it still keeps your mood elevated for like half the day until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. My attitude is elevated. My sense of well-being, the way I feel, is elevated. So I'm like, I don't really see any downsides other than the fact that some places it may be illegal, which if I was traveling, most of the places I travel, which is crazy enough, it's legal. It's very legal for recreational use. So I don't even have to travel with it. I can just literally walk into a dispensary there, and the more and more places that are starting to see that this is, state-wise, a medicine and not a drug, it's becoming more accessible. So I stepped back and I said, you know what, like, I was scared. My friends were scared. My loved ones were scared. My family was scared. Everybody was scared about me trying this. Nobody was more scared than I was. But I took a leap of faith based on the information and data that I found, not listening to someone else, but digging in the studies and the data and trying to understand that endocannabinoid system, which even if you're taking just a CBD oil that doesn't have any psychoactive effects, that actually helps nourish your endocannabinoid system, right? So you may have depression, you may have anxiety, you may have, whatever the case may be, sleeplessness. You could take a CBD and it may solve that whole problem, right? You might have to take cannabis, which has different terpenes and stuff like that in it, to change that. Like the sleeplessness, it's the THC effect that helps you with the sleeplessness, not the CBD. So what I'll use, sometimes I'll use a 1-to-1 ratio, which gives you a lot less psychoactive effects. Depending on what strain the doctor thinks that I should use, that's what I use. So I just felt like being honest about this, putting it out there. It's not something I've hid. I've talked about it, right? People see me wearing, hats with pot leaves on them and stuff, and t-shirts with pot leaves and stuff on them. The random times that I was wearing it, people go, what the fuck? They kind of like, and they think it's like, well, Jerry's becoming a hippie. Like he's more about peace, love, and not fighting and not arguing and stuff, which is true. But I've always, since I understood it, talking about a teenager, have been into the natural forms of medication than the drug forms. I tried the drug stuff. I tried the medications that doctors gave me because they wanted to medicate me. And I use stuff like echinacea instead of an antibiotic. I use fenugreek when I get sick. I'll use anything natural like 5-HTP for a mood elevator, ZMA, if you're trying to just calm down at the end of the night. Anything that you have a drug for, there's a natural source for, right? There's aspirin, which actually can cause some side effects, and there's white willow bark, which is how aspirin is derived or created from that, which has a natural way of the body using it that doesn't have the same side effects as the aspirin does. So I've always gone after like a Maolong and ephedra instead of ephedrine, Kuto Cola instead of, or cola nut instead of, caffeine. Many times I've always gone for that natural thing, homeopathy, naturopathy. I believe in that stuff, I really do. And to me, cannabis is no different than that. You can't get much more natural than grows out of the freaking ground, right? You cannot get more natural than God intended it. Now, don't get me wrong, they've created new strains of shit. They've done crazy stuff with this, right? To get the effects better, but they're still growing it naturally. They're not taking it, isolating it in a lab and creating this new thing. They're creating new strains by cross-pollinating. They create new strains to help with other ailments that there isn't help for. There's new strains that pop up that their drugs don't really help. There's all kinds of side effects, and they mask the symptoms of whatever the ailment is. They don't actually help. There's actual cannabis strains that actually help. So I sat back and I said, you know what, like, I'm tired of the preconceived notions. I'm tired of people judging you for, oh my God, he uses weed. Judge it however you want. I really don't give a fuck. The bottom line is, I can personally say that cannabis changed my life for the better. I can absolutely personally say that I don't look at it as a drug for me. It's a medicine. It's a means to an end to get sleep and to get rest. and nothing else has worked like it. I actually had to take a chance and risk my sobriety, going back on a bender of whatever fucking drug is my choice, to be able to find out for the fact that this drug, cannabis, this medicine, cannabis, whatever you want to call it, is not the same thing as heroin, not the same thing as cocaine, not the same thing as meth. Even though it's classified with those things, it's not the same. So my thing is to speak out and say, hey, I'm not telling anybody to go smoke weed. I'm not telling anybody to use cannabis. I'm not telling anybody to do anything. What I am saying is I found an alternative to the prescription medications that were being forced on me that didn't make me feel well, that didn't improve my life, had side effects, and actually made me worse for taking them. I found a way around that with a natural source. And because of the stigma to it, because of the preconceived notions that weed is drug, weed's bad, you're a hippie, you're an idiot, you're a loser, you're a drug user, whatever, I denied myself health. I denied myself well-being. I denied myself being an actual person and living like a human being because of my own preconceived notions that were bred into me from my parents, which was bred into them from propaganda. My mom, who taught me that that drug is bad, now takes that drug. Think about that for a second. How the tides have turned. And I think that's happening a lot now in society in general, but I'm here to try to break that stigma. And I know that people are gonna think I'm fucking nuts and you're gonna judge me. I don't give a shit. This is real, this is the truth. I don't give a fuck what you think. You've been watching me for the last 4 years. You've watched me evolve as a person, and many of you think into a better form of myself while I was on cannabis. Think about that. Everything you've heard me say that's deeper thinking, everything that you've heard me say that's elevating my way of life and my way of thinking outside of the box got more creative, got bigger and a wider scale on cannabis. Think about that shit for a second. Think about how different I am and how you watch me now compared to before. Cannabis was that whole time. You never suspected anything. So therefore, what bad side effects is it having? Now that sounds like a drug addict. No bad side effects. Like, it sounds like I'm rationalizing. That's true. There's a difference between rationalizing and the truth. I could lie to you and say that, you know, it's not that good. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. But I do think that if you don't have an ailment, you're going to use it as a drug. And I think that's where the drug use comes in. You don't have, like Alex, Tourette's. You don't have insomnia like me. You don't have anxiety like the next person. You don't have problems with appetite. You know what I mean? You don't have cancer drugs that you're on. You don't have an ailment that requires medication, and you take cannabis. The only thing you're going to do is get high. It's not going to help you with anything. So it makes sense, right? But understanding it is the key. Understanding how it breaks down, understanding how it works, understanding how people work, and how this drug can help or not help other people. That's what took me so long to come out about it. To be able to speak intelligently upon it, but at the same time, speak from experience 100%, and not something that was read or written or, you know, somebody said somewhere. This is me. This is my life. And this is me trying to share with you guys specifically, if you're having issues, seek your doctor out. This may be a solution. I'm not saying go buy weed. I'm saying talk to your doctor. Every day we have medication on TV. Ask your doctor if blah, blah, blah is right for you. Ask your doctor if so-and-so is right for you. I never see them say, oh, ask your doctor if cannabis is right for you. Why not? You're giving these drugs to people that are unbelievably damaging to the body. There are side effects. It's like 45 side effects, like may cause sniffing, sneezing, eye gouging, may cause diarrhea, may cause vomiting, may cause death, may cause your hair to grow, may cause your hair to fall out, may cause your feet to fall off, may cause your fingers to cramp up, may cause your firstborn son to change his name. Like, it has all these side effects, right? Don't use this if you're breathing, you're blinking, you're smelling, you can eat, you can drink. Don't use this if you can walk, if you can, like, there's medications that are so fucking dangerous out there, and I'm like, but the one that we're talking about that not one person has ever overdosed in their entire life on. You cannot overdose on this. Not one person. It would take like a fucking tractor trailer full of weed for you to overdose. That's illegal. Side effects like being sleepy and taking a nap, maybe eating a bag of Doritos because you got the munchies. That's the side effects from cannabis. But cannabis is dangerous and that's not? Like, it's not making any sense. And here now we have the Great Awakening. Like, people are starting to wake up. They're not stupid. That's why cannabis is becoming more and more prevalent in just about every state across America. I'm telling you right now, there are cool countries like South Korea that legalize it across the whole fucking country. Canada legalized it across the whole fucking country. Recreational, they didn't give a fuck. They're like, let's do it. Boom, done. When you see shit like that happening, you start realizing this may be the medicine that cures a lot of things, or at the very least treats a lot of things. And now the governments have figured it out. Now they can tax it. Now they can make money from it. So we're going to see it more and more. We're going to see people being able to get access to it. We're going to see it being used. We may see these pharmaceutical companies starting to produce it. The bottom line is it's a different day and age, and I feel like I wouldn't be doing myself justice or anyone else out there if I didn't give my personal experience, positive, zero negatives whatsoever, about cannabis of all things. All things you probably not think I would be sitting here talking to you about this today, but I am. Now again, disclaimer, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm not telling you what you should think, I'm not telling you that cannabis is the be-all end-all, I'm not telling you it's a miracle cure. What I'm telling you, for me, it has helped me great amount. I sound like fucking Donald Trump now, greatly. It has helped me a great amount, and I don't have any negativity with it. But I did have to come over my own stigmas and my own preconceived notions about it, which was the hardest part, to be able to do that. But it was really helpful when my mom decided to use it for her appetite. And I just said, this is amazing. Like, if she can change her mind and she can understand it, then I need to do that too. So be aware, guys. I think cannabis is going to be a very big thing in the future for a lot of people, ailments-wise. I think that in general, many medications may be replaced with this in the future. We're seeing painkiller prescriptions actually drop to record lows because people are being prescribed cannabis now. They can get cannabis and that helps with pain. Right? We're seeing antidepressants on the decline because cannabis helps with depression. Right? We're seeing all these sleep things like trazodone and Lunesta and Ambien, two drugs that I did not want to go on whatsoever after watching my family members use them. Those prescriptions are getting less because people are using cannabis. So I think that we're headed in the right direction. I think that cannabis itself is something not to be feared or scared of, but respected and understood. And if you respect and understand and do your due diligence and your studying up and your research, I think you'll find that there just may be a place for cannabis in that shelf with all the medicines. It's not a drug anymore. Medicine. BossReaching@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BossReaching.com is the blog. It's the medicine bicep, cannabis medicine bicep. Pull that up. Cannabis medicine bicep, and we are out.